Hi guys. So I think one of the questions that I was asked a lot after I had the interview with Chat with Traders was about the way that I kind of gamed the spread bet brokers early in my career and made a lot of money relatively quickly. And I think that it's a fascinating story for a lot of newer traders. And I got to be honest, it was one of the greatest periods of my life because there is no feeling quite like the ability to make insane amounts of money literally out of thin air. And I just wanted to talk, briefly about that because it really it comes under the general category of large wins. So early in my career, what I was doing is I was opening a lot of different spread bet accounts. And the reason that I was doing that is because most of them had bonuses to entice you in. So you might get one company saying, fund your account with £100 and we'll give you an extra £100 to trade with, or, and many different variations of that. So because I was working as a journalist at the time, I wasn't earning a lot of money and basically every penny counted. So I was opening all these accounts. I remember there was one with TD Waterhouse at the time. Literally put £150 in your account for doing nothing. You just had to open the account. You didn't even need to deposit anything, and they gave you £150. So I was going ahead and just opening accounts voraciously. And one day I got two accounts up and open at the same time. Both of them had some money in, and I got both of them running. And I'm looking at the Dow, and it's probably a minute before news is out at 1:30, and I'm expecting a big move. And one of the things I notice is that one of the brokers, when the news comes out, the price spikes. With one of the brokers, 50, 60 ticks, as you often see on news. And with the other broker, it doesn't move. And then probably 6 to 7 seconds later, it plays catch up with the other broker. So there was a noticeable lag. And the first time I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's happened with that other broker? But I didn't think too much of it. I just thought it was a little glitch. And I didn't know too much about, what was going on. And then the very next day, there was more data released at 1:30. Exactly the same thing happened. So one broker, leads and one broker lags. And, by day 3, obviously I was ready to capitalize on it. And it was quite incredible because what would happen on every piece of news that was scheduled, this broker would have a 6 to 8 second lag. So it was literally like seeing the future. Like you would see you'd see the impact of the news, you'd see which way the market went, and then you could trade with the lagging broker taking the directional cue from the broker that was, that had got it right, basically. So there were times, particularly back in that volatility that we had back then, where a piece of news would send the market 100 points in one direction, and I'd know about it and then be able to have time to put the size in, place the trade, and then just, as soon as I'm in, just see it spike 100 ticks into profit. It was incredible. I mean, seriously think for just 2 seconds, like how that must feel to be 8 seconds ahead of everyone else. So without a shadow of a doubt, because you can see it happening with the other brokers, without a shadow of a doubt what is going to happen. And it was free money. It was absolutely free money. Now, I was doing that for quite a while, but they stopped it. Obviously, they got wind of it because everybody was probably cleaning up. And but that really ignited me. Like I started looking for other opportunities with different brokers, and one thing I came across was a major opportunity with a broker, and I'm not going to give their name because obviously I don't want to be have a court case against me. But one broker, what was happening is that every probably 2 to 3 minutes on their crude oil price feed, there was a large spike, which was quite clearly a data error. So, for example, let's say, you know, the spread back then was wider, but let's say it's now $42 bid, 42.05 offered. So it would be trading quietly along, and then suddenly there would be a massive spike. So we'd be at $42 and we'd go 42.90 or 43, and it would be there for 3 seconds, and then it would just tank straight back to 42. So you knew that it wasn't genuine, because no market on earth moves like that. So, you know, I sat there, I watched it for a whole day, and I thought, fuck me, you know, there's an opportunity there. But the thing on my mind was, are they going to honour that? You know, if you click to hit that price, will they give it to you? So I thought, well, let's try it. I'll go under the radar. I'll try it at £1 a point, see what happens. So there was a spike, 80 ticks up. I hit it at £1 a point. 3 seconds later, I'm £80 richer. So I think, okay, interesting. Let's try it at £2 a point, and so on. And, you know, 3-4 hours later, I'm at £10 a point, and I'm making £800-900 in literally 3 seconds, and I'm doing that repeatedly. So you know, it was again an unbelievable experience, and I literally rinsed this broker, like rinsed them for this data error that they had. And I tell you, looking back on it, it was some of the craziest shit that I've ever experienced, because again, you know, there's no feeling in the world quite like making, you know, free money, and you know you're cheating. Like, you do know you're cheating, but you don't care. Like, when you see the money coming into your account, you just don't give a shit. And again, it was awesome. And I remember one time, like, people couldn't believe that it was going on, and it didn't last for that long, like maybe 3 or 4 months. But I remember one time I was on holiday, we're in France with my ex-girlfriend, and it was funny because we'd gone to get away for a few days, but I was just painfully aware that every day I spent on the beach, I was losing an opportunity to literally take free money. Like, not just to trade and get involved, but to literally, it was like a jackpot was pouring out coins and you're sitting on the beach rather than holding out your hands. It was literally like that. But it was incredible. I remember being so cocky. I remember saying to her, listen, give me 10-15 minutes to just pop into the internet cafe. I feel like making a few grand. And she was like, what? You taking the piss? And I was like, no, I'll just pop in there. Literally give me 10 minutes. I'll just make 3 or 4 grand and then we'll go to the beach. And she comes in with me, and she was just watching me, like her jaw was like, what the fuck? And she kept saying, is this real money? And I was like, well, obviously it's real. Like, you know, anyway, absolutely crazy. So that company finally shut that loophole down. But it was weird. They let me keep the money, try and find the same thing with different companies out there. It still exists to this day. It is still possible to do this, but it's a lot harder to find. But we found another company, or I found another company. I'll tell you why I say we in a second. I found another company that was basically having these data inconsistencies in Forex, but it was happening at really random times. So it often happened that when I was away from my desk, it would start spiking. Sometimes I'd get up in the morning and I'd look at the chart and I'd find all these spikes that occurred throughout the night. So I went onto a forum, Trade to Win, and I made friends with a few people on there whilst I was posting on there back in the day. And I got this group of people and I said to them, listen, I'm going to teach you how to make free money from the markets. But in return, what I want from you guys is I need you to basically watch these markets, and everyone's going to take a different shift. And we're all going to have each other's mobile numbers. And if something happens, then we're going to communicate it to the others. So I got this group of like 10 traders, all in different time zones, basically watching the market in shifts. And we've all got each other's numbers. So you might get a call literally at 3 a.m. in the morning going, right, pound yen's going mental, get up. And you'd race out of bed and it would just be doing these spikes and you'd be like, bang, you know, you'd be going absolutely balls deep at the biggest size you could, because there was no chance it was going to go wrong. There's a 100 tick spike up and then a 100 tick spike straight down. So you know that that's not genuine. And anyway, it was nuts. It was fucking mental. Like probably the most incredible time I've ever had as a trader. And when people talk about wins, nothing compares to that. I mean, I've had bigger wins, you know, but that's virtue of trading bigger size. But nothing has ever compared to that ability to take money literally out of thin air. You're not even using intelligence. It's just, that's it. So pretty crazy. But the moral of that story is always think outside the box, because a lot of people I saw on forums were moaning about these spikes, and they were saying it's so unfair, you know, these spread bet companies, they just send the price rocketing and they keep stopping us out. And I'm thinking, don't moan about the spread bet companies stopping you out. If you see a spike like this, you've got to think outside the box, turn it on its head, profit from it. Because for every trader that's out there that's getting fucked, someone's making money, and a lot of the time it's just a matter of working out how. I think I told the story before of a girl I worked with in prop that got the job because she'd made huge amounts of money from next to nothing. I think, if I remember correctly, she'd started an account with I think £100 or £200 and had made 50 grand, 50,000 in no time, like 3 or 4 months. And she'd done it by exploiting a broker error as well. What she had found, which is actually, again, very, very clever, is the fact that, and I think it was with IG, but I don't know. But I feel confident saying it because it wasn't me that made the money. But what she had done, what she had found is that one of the markets, I think it might have been the Chinese stock index, something like that. It was basically closing, and then when it reopened every day, there would be a big gap. Like standard was anywhere from a 200 to 400 point gap. So there was a big gap either up or down on the open. What she found is that they were allowing a guaranteed stop. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but to get the point across, let's imagine they're offering a guaranteed stop of 20 ticks, let's say. So they're allowing you to place your stop 20 ticks away and they'll guarantee it. Well, what she was thinking then is, well, hold on a minute, this is free money, because what I'll do is I'll take a position right before the market closes, and the next day, when it reopens, it's going to gap anywhere from 200 to 400 points. If it gaps in my favour, I'm going to make 200 to 400 points. If it gaps against me, I'm only losing the 20. So what she was saying is she's got 50-50 odds with somewhere in the region of a 10 to 20R, like insane returns. So she clocked that, she went all in. Again, once she got 50 grand out of them, they shut it down, but they honoured it. They allowed her to have the money. Some brokers don't. But I mean, again, it comes down to just thinking outside the box and thinking, you know, what can you do if they allow you to, if they allow you to get away with that? So I said to her at the time, how did you, how did you decide whether to go long or short? And she said, if it closed down, or if it was closing down on the day, I'd go short. If it was closing up on the day, I'd go long. And a lot of money. But she then had to learn to trade the proper way, and eventually she ended up doing her arse, which was a bit sad, but happens, doesn't it? So she didn't last too long in prop, but hey, I mean, she'd made good money, so there you go. So that was really the start of my career, and again, I know a lot of people that have done that. Let's talk about losses for a minute. I think that there's always more of an emotional impact from a loss than there is from a win. And, I had some crazy experiences when it comes to losses. I'll tell you a story, though, that wasn't related to me. But when I left prop, by the way, tell me if this is a bit better lighting. Is that better or worse? You can actually see me now. It's worse? It's worse because you just don't want to see me. Let's turn it off. Make it a bit more atmospheric. So, when I left Prop originally, I was recruited by a startup fund in the city, and the name of this fund was called White Horse Capital Management. And I don't know if they're around now, but they were basically a couple of brothers that were property developers, and they wanted to get into trading. So they basically started a fund to diversify, and they knew about me through a friend of a friend. So they said to me, would you like to come in and trade some really big size for us? And I said, okay, now you're saying they're still around. I don't think it's the same company. I think there might be one with that name, but I don't think it's the same company. It might be, but I doubt it. But anyway, so they got me in to go and trade, and they in the first meeting they said, we've hired a trader from a big bank. I forget who it was. It might have been like JP Morgan. I don't know. But anyway, they hired a big trader, and they said he's a fantastic crude oil trader, and you're going to be sitting opposite him, and both you and him are going to be like the head traders of the fund. So I thought, fucking hell, okay, this sounds fantastic. So I get there, and we're trading for a few days, and probably less than a week in, this guy buys some crude oil. Now, we're aware of what the other traders are doing, because the director of the fund liked to have our P&L on massive plasma screens that he could oversee. Right? As if that, as if you haven't got enough pressure when you're trading, you've got to have everybody see your fucking position you're in and your P&L. And although I'm digressing a little bit, it was really frustrating, because he used to come over whilst we're in the middle of a trade. Like, you might be balls deep short oil, and he'll just come over and he'll go, don't know why you're selling that. Oil goes up long term. And you're thinking, well, I'm not a fucking long term trader. Why are you getting involved? But, it got to you a little bit, and he was always doing that kind of thing. Just putting the seeds of doubt in your head. You have to be really disciplined. But anyway, this guy buys oil, and it goes down about $1. And so he buys some more. And I'm seeing this, and it's happening on the same day, and I thought, okay, he's accumulating a little bit here. And then the market closed. The next day we're in there, and it drops further, and he's now about $3 offside, and he's buying some more. And at this point, he went over to the director of the fund and said, listen, I'm taking quite a sizable position in the oil here, but I really think this is going to go up long term. Just to let you know, though, I'm doing this. Is that okay? And the guy was like, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Day closes. Next day, it shits itself badly. And now he's about $6, maybe even $7 offside. And at one point, right, he leans across the desk to me and he says, if you were going to buy, where would you buy more? Now, the fucking minute that he said that, I thought, this guy's done his arse. This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He's asking me now where I buy more. His trade's out the window. So at that point, I started to shit myself. Not because anything to do with me, but I thought this fucking firm's going to disappear faster than Davey Robertson's Twitter account. So I was getting a bit worried. And then he's now, still sweating this position out, and he's looking a bit visibly worried. So a couple of days later, he's now over $10 offside. $10 offside on this crude oil position, if I remember it correctly. And he said to me, can I have a quick word with you? And I was thinking, yeah, okay, go on. So I say to him, yeah, what's up? And he says, what am I going to do? What do I do with this oil? What am I going to do? And honestly, I thought, my first thought was just like, we're fucked. We are absolutely fucked. Because he's really dug himself into a hole. Anyway, the next day, he didn't show up to work, and I had to get him out. I had to get him out and liquidate his position when the director came over and was like, what the fuck's going on? We've completely done our arse in crude oil. And I was like, yeah, well, nothing to do with me. You know, and you know, the funny thing was, and they always say that a lot of the big guys, you know, they know what's going on. This guy could see the P&L. So he knew what was going on, but he let the loss get that big because he believed in the head trader, but the head trader didn't believe in himself. And that was apparent relatively early on when he's fucking asking me where to buy. If you're asking somebody else what to do, you got no plan, you got no business trading. And again, you know, all these stories imparted a lesson to me, and that was a very, very powerful lesson because it wasn't a nice experience. You know, you might say he deserved it, but it wasn't a nice experience watching that guy get his arse handed to him, you know, because it's over to several days like that. You see somebody take the pain, you see them sweat it, and it's nasty. It's really, really nasty. So it teaches you a lesson. So I saw a question go up and somebody said, did you take the other side of him? I didn't take the other side of him, but I've got a story for you about that. And this is really fucked up. So back in roughly 2012, I don't know the exact date, but it was around 2012. I was running my live room, which I'm still running to this day. And I had a guy in there, and his name was David. I haven't had a haircut, no. Do I look like I've had a haircut? I haven't had a haircut. I've been wearing earphones though for the last couple of hours, so maybe my hair's gone a bit crazy. Anyway, this guy was in my live room, and at one point I went through this little stage. I don't do it anymore, but I went through this stage of having orders in the market, and then if price came into them very aggressively, I would pull that order. And that would be because I just didn't like the hugely volatile way that price was moving into the level that I was looking to buy. So I would pull it. And most of the time when I pulled it, it would bounce. And the trade would have worked. And I'd be sitting there thinking, ah, fuck, I should have taken that trade. But I wasn't keeping any notes on this. And one day, this guy says, he types into the chat room, every time you pull your order, Tom, I double up. I was like, what? What do you mean you double up? He said, well, I'm taking the same trades as you, but every time you pull your order, I don't cancel my order anymore. I double my size and take your original trade. I said to him, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And he says to me, because out of the last 26 occurrences, 21 of them have worked perfectly. I'm like the way he's giving me the number, I'm like, are you really keeping track, like that close track of my trades? Anyway, we kind of became friends, and we were talking a few times, and one night, I can't remember why, but we met up for a beer. And I'd had him in my trading room as a guest for quite a long time. I hadn't charged him. And he said to me, Tom, I'm going to show you something because you've been good to me. I'm going to show you how I make my money. So I was like, all right, go on, this should be good then. You know, because you've been in my trading room, so presumably, you know, I'm the reason you're making the money. He pulls out a little notebook. It's actually a small notebook, but it's quite thick. And it is full to the brim of notes, right? But it's notes on myself and every other trader in the trading room, and also on traders in forums, on Twitter. Like, he literally has a black book with information on everybody, the types of trades they take, their hit rate, their average win-loss ratio, what he's got, like, he's got stats on everyone. I was looking at this, I was like, what the fuck is going on here? This guy knew more about my trading than I fucking knew about my trading. What he was doing is he was basically looking for patterns and trading people. And that was, you know, he said to me, he said, look, you've made me a huge amount of money. And he said, the reason I've made you a lot of money, he said, is because I know you're profitable, so I follow your profitable trades. He said, but then you do things, like you pull things, you pull orders, and I can see by keeping an eye on you that those are working, but you're not seeming to notice this yourself. And my notes on you tell me what I need to do. And again, he'd be looking at other traders in the room that would be calling their trades, and he'd be saying, for example, stuff like, right, you see Scott rocks up in your live room every day from between 9 till midday. He calls 3 trades out in the pound yen. He always does his arse. You just need to fade everything he does. As soon as he goes long, you go short. You put a stop where his target is and a target where his stop is. And honestly, I couldn't believe it, but I would see him actually doing this live. So there would be a time when he would be on Twitter, we'd be out together, and he'd be on Twitter and he'd say something like, oh, here you go, look, right, there's this trade from John here. John's just bought oil with a 30 tick stop, so I'm now going short oil. And I'd see him just pull up the oil, bang in the size, and just crack it short based on what somebody else was doing. It was absolutely mental. And this guy made several £100,000 doing this at the last time I spoke to him. He was just fading everyone. And I said to him, you know, that's quite incredible. Like, I thought outside the box, but that's really, really clever. And he said to me, I'm surprised more people don't think about it. He said, everybody is looking to copy a profitable trader, right? They want to get educated. They want to find out how to make it in this game. So they're always looking for a trader to teach them. He said, but they never seem to think, if it's true that 90% lose, why are you looking for a winning trader? Why don't you just find a cunt who does his arse every single day and just do the opposite? And I was like, fuck, that's good. That is good. So there you go. Very easy to find a losing trader. The forums, Twitter is full of them. Find a losing trader, fade them. And interestingly enough, at one point, and this is kind of, you know, not so good for educators, putting educators in a bad light yet again. But I remember at one time he started up a little free educational service, and he said, I'm going to take a few traders under my wing, and I'm going to teach them how to trade for free. So people were like, oh wow, this is amazing. But what he was actually doing, he was imparting just some general stuff about the markets that, you know, you could find anywhere, like, you know, just some basic technicals. But what he was doing is he was saying, in return for teaching you this stuff, I want you to call me your trades so that I can work out where you're going wrong. And obviously he would pick the most desperate cases to train. So he'd have guys that were writing to him going, David, I've done my arse, I've lost 30 trades in a row, I'm down 50% of my account. He'd be like, I'll teach you, just call all your trades. And he'd just be fading everything they did. And it was nuts. It was really, really nuts. So again, an interesting experience, but just another way, another example of people thinking outside the box and how you can, you know, how you can do this. I know people to this day that are fading Footsie Day on Twitter and making a lot of money from doing it. So there you go. You know, sometimes people write to me and they say, I'm trying to learn how to trade, Tom. And at the moment I'm at break even. And that's not too bad, you know, at least I'm not a losing trader, so I feel like I'm almost there. And taking a cue from what this guy, David, once said to me, I don't mean to worry anyone, but if you're at break even, that's probably worse than being a losing trader. Because if you're a losing trader and you put some effort in and you look at your journal and you analyse what you're doing, you can turn it from a losing trader into a winning trader with a bit of work. If you're a winning trader, well, great. You know, you've got it. Just rinse and repeat. But if you're a break-even trader, it's really fucking hard to work out what's going on. So, you know, this guy used to say, and I truly believe this, if you're a losing trader, it is better for your progress than to be a break-even trader in terms of finding out what works and what doesn't. Something to think about, but not particularly something exciting. Might actually worry some people. So, you know, going back to that guy that was fading everyone, think outside the box again, but you know, just be careful. That was the moral to learn there. Be careful who you talk to, and be careful who you call your trades to on Twitter. Be very careful. You notice I don't call a lot of trades. I am wary about doing that. I know there are people out there that are paying close attention to what you do, and I don't see the point of giving everything away to people that are doing that kind of thing. Whether they're, you know, following you, whether they're fading you, whatever. I know there. I mean, actually, I heard, and I don't know if it's up and running, but I knew a guy that was working for a fund that said that he had developed some software that was able to take anyone on Twitter, and it was able to go through their last 3,000 tweets, and if they traded at all, it was able to data mine their trades, go over, compare that to live market data, and work out what their expectancy was. And if they were profitable, follow them. If they were unprofitable, to fade them. And he was saying that he was trying to sell this to a fund. And again, I'm thinking, there's no fucking way I'm calling anything on Twitter with these cunts out there doing stuff like that. Call me paranoid. Maybe I am. But I know he was working on that. So, there you go. Another story, another lesson that I learned about procrastination. Now, if you guys ever have an issue, do you ever have an issue where you're looking to take a trade and you think, should I do this? And you just delay, right? Some of you guys must have that. You just spend too long and it's too late, right? You overthink it. Well, let me tell you how I cured myself of that problem. Stand up and show us that Bund t-shirt. There you go. So I'm going to tell you how I cured myself of that problem. So I'm in prop, right? And I'm looking at the markets. And one of the markets I was looking at was the T-note, the US Treasury note. And as it happened, it looked like it was about to make a huge move. Like it was coming into a level, and it was, I always remember it was a level above market. It just looked like it was about to shit itself. And I can't remember why I thought that, even though I can remember the level very clearly, and that I wanted to be short. I don't know whether there was a daily bias or what have you, but that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is I thought it was going to tank. So I went into the head of the prop firm's office, knocked on the door, and I went in there. And a lot of the people there, it wasn't that they were scared of him, but a lot of people didn't generally interrupt him during the trading day. He was busy, his temperament was a bit volatile, he could lose his cool pretty easily. He wasn't the sort of person you just barged in on. But I thought, I want to take a trade here, and I haven't got limits in the T-note. So I knocked on his door, and I said, I wonder if you can give me some limits in the T-note, because I think it's about to shit itself. So he stops what he's doing, and he looks at me, and he says, I think it's going to tank too, Tom, but I think it's going to do it tomorrow. So I looked at him, and I said, yeah, okay, I appreciate that, but I really think it's going to go right now. Can I possibly have some limits? So he picks up the phone and he gets me a 10 lot. And he says, there you go, you've got a 10 lot. It'll be at your desk in 30 seconds. So I go back to my desk and I'm sitting there, and I don't know what went through my head, but I think that maybe it was now an ego problem. The fact that I'd just gone into his office and he was a huge trader and I got him to stop what he was doing and give me the limits. What if I got in and it didn't go? I'd look like a complete muppet. And I was like a rabbit in the headlights. I thought, what the fuck, what do I do here now? I still believe in the trade, but now I'm doubting myself because I'm gonna look like a mug if it doesn't go. While I'm thinking about it, honestly, it shat itself. Like, it just shit. Like, literally, straight down. 5 minute red candle, massive. And you know, I was like, whoa, okay, right, if that pulls back, I'm getting in. No, it doesn't pull back, it just shits, and it shits, and it shits, and it shits a bit more. And at this point, Rand Squawks on the YSD saying, you know, we're seeing a big move in the treasuries here, we don't know why. And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my good God, I've not got in this trade and it has fucking plunged. So, you know, I just thought, well, you know, that's it. And I was really pissed off that I didn't pull the trigger. 5 minutes later, I see him come out of his office and he was walking over towards me. And I'm thinking, oh no, what am I going to say? And he says to me, Tom, that's a great trade. That is a really great trade. How much did you make? And I looked at him and I was like, yeah, you see, well, yeah, I was a bit slow, but yeah, I didn't actually get in. And honestly, it was, I wish someone had filmed this because it was fucking hilarious. Although I thought I was going to shit myself. Like, his face just started to go red and then redder. And then he went like a fucking tomato. And he stood on a chair. He stood on a chair next to me and started screaming at me. Going, you're a fucking cunt. Why the hell would you come in my office, disrupt what I'm fucking doing, ask me for limits, I give you limits, you pussy out of the fucking trade. I was just like, oh my God, I'm really sorry. He's like, you're a fucking disgrace. I was like, oh, and it was awful. It was honestly, it was awful experience, but I learned. I tell you what, guys, I never did that again because I literally at that moment I wanted to die. Like, I just thought the ground's got to swallow me up here. I've got to die because I can't take the embarrassment and the pain. But I learned, and sometimes you need a lesson like that to help you learn. So that was really pretty pivotal for me. But yeah, talking of emotions and anger, I saw loads of examples of that when I was at the fund and when I was in prop as well. Saw a guy smash his screen a couple of times. That was quite funny. A Greek guy. He was trading bunds, funnily enough, and he was getting topped and tailed. He was buying the high, selling the low, and I remember he smashed. I was sitting just behind him, and he smashed his screen, and he smashed it with his mouse. And then he just put his hand up and said to the IT guy, can you bring me over another screen? So they brought over another screen. And, you know, I thought, wow, okay, that's what the ballers do. They smash their screen when they're angry. Literally 2 minutes later, I hear this almighty crash. I jump out my skin, I turn around. He smashed the new screen with his fist. And it's all jagged. You know, like when you drop a phone or something and it all goes multicoloured? So he's like, he literally just puts his hand up and he goes, right, I need another screen. So they bring another screen over, and then at this point, the risk manager of the firm sort of saunters over and goes, you know, maybe you should take the day off, mate. You know, having a bit of a bad day. He's like, no, I'm fine. Just the bunds, they're really getting to me today. All right. Third time, 5 minutes later, puts his keyboard through the screen, and he's done 3 screens. And at this point, the risk manager comes back and he's like, listen, you can't sit there smashing screens all day long. Just go home. Everybody has a bad day. Call it a day and go home, right? This guy, he starts screaming and he goes, listen to me. I will smash as many fucking screens as I want. You bring them, I'm going to smash them. Now go and get me another fucking screen now. Charge it to my account. I don't care how much they are. If they're £200, £300, just bring me a screen because I'm going to smash it. And they were like, listen, you need to leave right now. Like, literally, you need to leave. And he was just, it was kind of funny, and he was a bit volatile, so I didn't want to laugh, but I was kind of, didn't know whether to be scared or whether to laugh, because I'm sitting right behind him, but honestly, so he sat there for a few minutes and he was just like, and then he eventually ended up leaving. So, you know, it was pretty crazy to watch someone doing that. I remember seeing as well, a guy, a fully grown man, right, crying in the bathroom, okay? I went into the toilet and he's in there crying and he's leaning over the sink and he just keeps saying, and he's another bun trader, what is it with these fucking buns? And he's going, these buns, they're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. These buns, they're going to kill me. And he's sobbing his eyes out. And I'm saying to him, dude, like, you know, what can make a fully grown man trade? I mean, get a cry. And again, I'm thinking everybody has bad days. Everybody has bad trades. We all get frustrated. But what's got to happen to you to make you cry like that? And to this day, I don't know what it was, but you know, all these kind of lessons and these experiences taught me so much about risk. Just seeing, like, you know, the emotions and how, you know, how they affected people. And it must have been a result of too much risk, because I can't imagine any situation where you'd be crying. You know, even if you're frustrated with the market, if you've taken trades at normal size, you might have 3 or 4 losers back to back, you're not going to cry. So it can only be that the guy was on, you know, taking too much risk or what have you. But yeah, it was insane. I got roundhouse kicked by a trader once. This guy actually ended up becoming my friend, but when I joined the firm, I had written, before I joined the firm, I was known for being on Trade to Win, and I wrote a thread on hammers and shooting stars and how they formed at levels and how I traded them. And the other term for hammers or shooting stars is a pin bar, right? That's to traders that don't look at candlesticks, they look at bar charts. So this guy was joking and he was saying, here comes Tom Dante, the pin bar master. They used to call me the pin bar master all day long. It was kind of, I thought it was kind of funny. But it was winding me up after a while. Everything I did, he was like, was there a pin bar there? So anyway, one day, this was another Greek guy. Careful of these Greek guys, they're really dangerous. So this Greek guy, he's sitting there and he's trading and he's starting to do his arse. And basically the market is going down, but he buys it, stops out, buys it, stops out again, buys it, stops out again, and he's really getting fucked. And you can see him getting a little bit more angrier with every loss. So it starts out, he's just like deep breaths and like tapping his hands, and then it will start that after a loss he'll be like thumping his desk and going, shit, I've done my arse or whatever. But he's getting really angry at this stage. And at the end of the day, he stood up and he looked really angry, like he was, you know, just wanting to vent his frustration. Me being a complete turd, right? I tried to diffuse it, and I also tried to get my own back for being called the pin bar master. And it just so happened that there had been a pin bar on the daily FTSE chart, he was a FTSE trader, to short. And I said to him, I don't know why you were going long all day, mate. There was an obvious pin bar on the daily to be short. You should always ask the pin bar master before you trade. This guy fucking roundhouse kicked, I'm not joking, he roundhouse kicked me. I went across about 3 desks. I think he broke my fucking back. And I was just spread-eagled on the floor, and I was like, oh shit, what the hell? Like, why did you do that? And he was like, don't talk to me again. Just walked out. Next day, he came in, he was like, look, I'm really sorry for what I did, but don't piss me off when I've had a losing day. So I was just like, wow, fucking hell, you can't make a joke. So there you go. But it just kind of shows you when people are having bad days and when there's a lot of money on the line, you know, tensions run high. People go mad. They really do. So I took it. I mean, I wasn't going to get in a fist fight with the guy because I kind of thought, you know what, you know when you feel like you probably deserved it? You know, when someone's lost that much money, to be a smart ass in their face, you do deserve to kind of get lamped. So there you go. I took it. I took it like a man. I never really lost my cool with anyone. The only time I ever really lost my cool in prop was when I had a position in cable. So it was 6B, the futures. And I had a position on TT, and I can't remember what size I had traded. I mean, this is 7 years. Excuse me, this is 8 years ago now. But I think I might have had a 20 lot, but I can't remember anyway, so it's pointless. But either way, I was in this trade, and I was running it overnight. And during the middle of the night, it made... it started to trend down, so I was offside. But I didn't have a 6B chart at home. I only had a spot chart at home, so I didn't know where 6B was trading. But obviously, I know it kind of, parallels with, with the spot to an extent. So I thought, this is going against me. So I drove into the office in Woking, and I get there, I put up TT, and my position's not there. And I'm like, what? Where's my position gone? It's just not on the. It's not on the ladder. But when I look at the chart, I can see that I'm not stopped out. So I look at XTrader, and there's no position, there's no stops, limits, nothing's on this, showing there, but I should be still in it. So I call up the broker, and because it's the middle of the night, it's probably about 3:30, 4 in the morning. They route me to Singapore. I got some dozy bitch on the line that didn't know what was going on at all. Like, call yourself a fucking broker. She didn't have a clue. I said to her, hi, I just want you to tell me if you can clarify whether I'm still in cable, how much I'm in, whether my stop's been hit. I don't think it has, but it's not on my XTrader. She was like, don't know. I was like, what do you mean you don't know? You're the broker? She was like, don't know, can't see. Like, really blunt. I was like, sorry, let's try that again. How much am I in the fucking trade? Because I need to know pretty damn quick. She was like, don't know, you'll have to call back at 8. And I actually did lose my cool at that point. I said to her, listen, I've got a number here to call out of hours. Fucking get off your ass and find me someone that can tell me what my position is, because I really need to know. And she just said something like, well, there's no need to be rude, sir. You'll have to call back at 8. So there was nothing I could do. But I was so mad. And looking back, maybe it wasn't her fault. But again, it just shows, when you're stressed and you don't know what's going on, it's human nature. You just lose it. So there you go. I told the story. I'm sure most of you guys have heard it. I told the story in last Sunday's webinar, I think it was, about the biggest loss I took in copper. I don't think I'll repeat that, because I did go over that. Unless the majority of you haven't heard it, I'll probably leave that one out. But I mean, that was a hideous experience, that loss I took in copper. It was a disgusting experience. And the same thing with with the girl I worked with that took the loss as well, due to the data error. Both experiences taught me so much about risk. Most of you look like you haven't heard it. Okay, all right. Well, I'll tell you both stories. So my worst loss, and this is not in financial terms, but this is my worst loss in terms of emotional impact, was a loss that I had in 2005, 2 years before I was profitable in copper. And my God, did this trade teach me a lot about risk. So I was buying copper every day, and I'd started an account, as I always did at the time, with a small amount of money, a couple of £100, and I'd run this account up to roughly 9 grand. In fact, I was trying to find this earlier. That's why I sent the tweet out about faking statements, because I was going back through my old FinSpread statements, trying to find this actual trade so I could show you, but I couldn't find it because I don't know the exact date, and there's so many statements to wade through. But to cut a long story short, I was buying copper every day, and it was a massive bull market in 2005, a massive bull market. It was going up, in the stage that I was in it was going up virtually every day. Now, I didn't know what I was doing because I wasn't profitable at the time, but I knew what was working, and it was buying copper, holding it for the day, closing out at the end of day, easy money. So my account's going higher and higher and higher and higher. It looks like fucking George Soros' equity curve. And every day I buy this copper in the morning. And one day I turn on my computer before I leave for work. Copper opens. I can't remember the time it opened now, but it opens. And I buy my usual stake in copper. And I think, right, there we go. It's going to be another easy day of money. And I go take a shower. And when I come back from the shower, I'm down. And I'm down £125. Don't ask me how I remember that figure when it was 10 years ago, but I do. And I'm £125 down. And the thing that struck me as a little bit odd is that I was down, because the pattern had been that every day I'd buy it and it would just go straight up from the open. But I thought, well, okay, it's going down a little bit first, but it's going to come good. And I didn't have a stop loss in, because I never traded with stop losses. So I get on the bus to work, and midway through my bus ride, maybe half an hour since I checked the position before leaving the house, I suddenly have this little light bulb moment where I think, I better check that position. And this was before phone apps were around. Well, I don't know if it's before they're around, but I didn't have a phone with an app. But I have a phone. So I phone up my girlfriend at the time, and I said to her, Ella, listen, can you just log in to my account? And can you please just check my copper trade and tell me, and this is the best part, tell me how much I'm up. Not what my position is or how much am I down, just how much I'm up. I was that confident that I would be up because I was up every day. So she logs in and she looks at it and she says, and this is where it gets a little bit hazy. I don't remember the exact figures, but she says something like, you're down £1,000. And I was like, £1,000? Fuck, that is a lot. Bear in mind I had about 9.5 grand in the account. So I'm like, Jesus, £1,000. But I don't want to get out. I'm like, there's no way am I taking £1,000 loss. Like, it's a bull market. It's a little shakeout. You know, all the excuses are going through your head. It's a little fake out, you know, break the trend line or whatever bollocks. It will come back. It will be fine. So I said, all right, cool. And I'm, you know, back on the bus riding along. 15 minutes later again, something happens in my head and I think, I'm going to call her again and see where that position is. So I call her and she logs back into the account and she says, you're 3,000 down now. And I'm like, 3 grand, that's 30% of my account. Like, I was starting, and the weird thing was, I wasn't outright panic, but I was starting to really shit myself. I sweat here at this point because I was thinking that's a big, big drop. But I still was confident it would come back. I just thought I'm probably going to have to hold this for a week before I make my money back. You know, but it's the trend's not going to reverse, right? You trade with the trend, you'll be all right. It'll bail you out. Anyway, while she's on the phone, I shit you not, guys, this is how quick she starts relating my P&L. She starts going, Tom, she goes, you're 3.5 grand down. No, it's just changed to 4.2. That's 4.6 now. Oh, it's 5 now. 5.5. 6 grand down. I'm like, sorry, we've gone from 3 grand down to 6 grand down in 20 seconds. What the fuck's going on? I thought she was reading it wrong. Anyway, at this point, you know, I lost all pretense of being cool. I went into psychological meltdown mode. People on the bus were looking at me. I was screaming at her, get me out of that trade. She was saying, I can't get you out. There's a little icon next to it with a telephone. I can't get you out of this trade. I was going, fucking reboot the PC, pull the fucking plug out of the wall. I don't care what you've got to do, just get me out of that trade. I didn't even think to get the number. I should have just been very calm and said, get me the number, I'll call them up. But no, I'm just like, get me out. I was forced liquidated. From a 10 grand account, I think I was left with 160 quid in the end. And I lost my entire account, the biggest loss I'd taken to date, in probably 50 minutes. And it was such a painful experience, not only because I had taken so long to run that account up, months to run it up and blowing the whole lot in less than an hour, but the other really painful thing about it was the fact that I was working as a journalist, and at the time I was earning £100 a day after tax. So I'll work an 8-9 hour day doing a job that I really didn't like, to earn £100 and I've blown close to 10 grand in an hour. That makes you sick. It makes you feel physically ill. All because I didn't have a fucking stop, and all because I just thought it will come good. I'm with the trend. Actually, if you go back and look, I haven't traded copper ever since, and I don't think I ever will. But I believe, don't hold me to this, but I believe that it was the biggest down day ever in copper. And I was on the wrong side of it. And it was in 2005. Awful, awful fucking day that was. So I always used to stop from that point on. I always used a stop because it was, you know, it was really, really nasty. So just seeing a few people here, you know, around 500 to 13k inside 3 months, blew the lot in a day. I think it happens to a lot of people. It's just that as a trader, the real question is how much do you learn from that experience? Because I know people that, you know, they go and make the same mistake time and time and time again. And if you learn something from it, then it's useful. But Jesus, people ask me why I'm grey. I mean, I'd like to go back in time and see, you know, how quickly my fucking hair started going grey after that trade, because it was definitely, I mean, I've lost more money in a single trade since then, but as I said earlier, that's by virtue of trading at larger size now, but never have I had a loss as destabilising as that. Awful. Bear in mind, I nearly got killed on January of this year when the SMB abandoned the peg. I was long Euro Swissy. And I know everyone's going to go, oh, you're a cunt, you know, you shouldn't have been long, you should know better. Now, maybe I should have done, but I was long. And I wasn't long at any big size, but I was long 120.09. I had a stop above the floor at 120.02. And I kept saying that at the time to people, you know, if you're going to put a stop in, for fuck's sake, make sure it goes above the floor, not below it. It shouldn't go down to 20.01. You know, or 20.02, it doesn't go down that low. It keeps finding a bid at 05s, 06s. You want to be, if it's going to break the floor, you want to be first out, not last out. So I had this stop at 20.02. On the day, I got my live room open. Everyone in the live room knows I'm long Euro Swissy, but it does nothing all day, so nobody pays much attention to it. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of my charts. I'm having a swig of my coffee. Suddenly, the biggest red candle that I've ever seen in my entire life. And you know when your chart goes out of perspective? Like the whole chart's fucked up because the move is so big. And it just dumps. And I'm like, literally mouthful of coffee. I'm like, my mouth's open, got coffee dribbling all down my shirt. And I'm like, that's the market that I'm long. And everyone in my room is like, oh my God. Tom, they've abandoned the floor. And in my head, I just have this neon sign going, you're dead. You're completely dead. Because I know, I don't even need to look. I know from the potential slippage, because it's gone from 120 to 110 in about 2 minutes. So I know it's dumped 1,000 ticks. I know the slippage is going to be horrendous. And I said to the guys in the room, fuck, like just fuck. I'm too scared to even look at my broker. And I had to though. I had to go and I had to put it up and obviously see the damage. And I look at it and I have not got a single pip slippage. I swear to the God above, may he strike me down. I have not got a single tick slippage. And I'm looking at it and I actually logged out and logged back in because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But not a tick slippage. So I'm hearing all these horror stories on Twitter about people getting revised slippage and everything. So I thought, fuck me, maybe I'm going to get revised slippage in a minute. So I call them up, and I had the funniest conversation with this broker. I'm saying to him, listen, I don't mean to be funny, but you've stopped me out of a trade. And he's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, yeah, you stopped me out right where my stop is. And he's like, right, that's what a stop's for, so what's your point? And I'm like, yeah, but you don't understand. You stopped me out right where my stop is. He's like, yeah, I don't understand. I'm like, well, you haven't slipped me at all. And I'm like, and he's like, okay, I think he was new or something. He's like, well, yeah, okay, what's this conversation about? We haven't slipped you, that's fine. Is that a problem? I'm like, you haven't slipped me. You guys are amazing. I fucking love you. You haven't slipped me. Can you send me an email? Can you write that down in the email that you're not going to revise the slippage? And this poor guy was just like, yeah, okay. Like, he didn't know I don't think he knew what was going on at that point then. I mean, I don't know how it could have escaped him, but it was very soon after, and perhaps he just hadn't, he's new and he didn't know, but it was so funny just seeing him, like, wondering what the hell, like, why was I moaning? I hadn't got any slippage, that's a good thing. What the hell was I moaning about? So there was that. And again, that was a pretty crazy little experience. So, a lot of stories there. Probably leave you guys with one more, because I've just had a message on my phone saying I've got 10% battery life. Anyway, regarding the loss I said I'd tell you about, the person I worked with, it was a girl that I worked with in prop, incredible trader, had made a lot of money, rising star of the firm, and one day she was long the FTSE, and the market starts to go up, and she looks to take her profits, and so she clicks sell on the ladder, and nothing happens at all. Just the position's still there showing long. So she's like, alright, this is a bit weird. So she clicks to sell again. I don't know how much she was long, but let's say 20 lots. So she puts her 20 lots in, clicks sell, nothing's happened, it's not offsetting my position. Clicks again, nothing happens. Logs out of Xtrader, logs back into Xtrader, sell me my 20, nothing's happening. Very weird. But she's clicking a lot, to try and get her out. And then she reboots her PC, logs back in, opens it all up, nothing's happening, it's still showing as there. Then, I don't know if we can call it a black swan event, but a very unlikely event. There is an interest rate cut, a surprise interest rate cut from the Bank of England. And the FTSE goes apeshit, as you can imagine, 200-point rise. And she's like, oh my God, my best day ever. Look, I'm long and we're up 200 points. So she's clicking, get me out, all so excited, it's not getting her out. So eventually she's like, fucking hell, gets on the phone to the broker. And obviously, probably don't want to bother the broker because he's probably getting bothered by huge numbers of people, on a key bit of news like that rocks the market. But she has to do it because he can't get out with TT, so she calls the broker. And she's like, right, I'm long the FTSE, I'm up. On the screen it says I'm up whatever, 150 grand or whatever, can you just close this position? It won't close out. Silence. And although I can't hear what's on the other end of the phone, I can see her face, so I know what's being said. And basically what he said is, you're not long, you're short, and you're massively short. And what's actually happened is that when she had closed it originally, it had closed, but it hadn't shown up on the software. What she'd actually been doing is every time after that she'd clicked, she'd shorted her full-size clip at market. So she ended up being God knows how many lots long, but probably clicked 8, 9, 10 times at full clip size. God knows how risk didn't pick up on it, but she'd gone balls deep short, then got hit by a surprise rate cut. Career ended. Whole career, not just a big loss, career ended in minutes. And I tell you what, man, like seeing her face was awful. Like I don't think I've ever seen anyone to this day look quite like that. Like she just melted. Like her face just fucking melted. It's like someone had just said your whole family had been wiped out in a plane crash or something. Like it was awful. And she was shaking. And she just went as white as a ghost. Shaking like that, she turned off her PC, took her coat, got up, walked out of the firm, and never saw her again. Whole career ended like that. And it's it's a software error. And, you can't claim it back. You can't sue them and say that the software got it wrong and you shouldn't have taken that loss. That's just what happens there. They have it, they're all backed up to the fucking nines, with check check the 5th sentence of the 317th page of our, terms and conditions, and you'll see that we don't pay out if there's a software problem. So yeah, horrible. But again, it's another lesson, and I'm kind of glad that I've had this many lessons, but another lesson in risk, in how and that lesson in particular, that at the end of the day, it was nothing to do with, you can say, well, she was a mug, she shouldn't have kept clicking, and I guess that's true, she shouldn't have kept clicking, but it was another, it was an example of, there is an element of luck in this game. She was unlucky that the software fucked up. She was unlucky that at that moment there'd been a surprise rate cut. A lot of things came together to screw her up, and it wasn't that she over-leveraged, that she took too much risk. It was just bad luck, being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and without a stop. I was just planning to put the stop in once the limit got filled. And the crash was so sharp that I saw it trade through the limit, and then I was probably, I don't know how many, I can't remember now, but I reckon I was probably 30 handles off, and I was at big size, because I only planned to have a 6 to 8 tick stop, and I was maybe like 30 handles offside or something in seconds with no stop in. And at that time, I really shit myself, because that was nearly career ending. When you've risk managed for an 8 tick stop, and you suddenly find yourself fucking massively offside, your full clip. It's worrying. And you know what? And I don't know how this is even true, but my limit wasn't honoured. If you're listening to this and thinking that's not possible, you're right. It ain't possible. How is a limit order not fucking honoured? The CMC did not honour my limit order. That isn't possible. That's not possible. If a limit order gets hit, it gets fucking filled. Maybe I'm wrong. Someone tell me I'm wrong, but it was mental. They didn't honour it. And that's partly why I've still got a career to this day. Blind luck. So that was that luck there, and the Euro Swiss luck not getting slipped has made up for a shitload of bad luck that I've had at times. But it happens. Somebody said to me once, and I'll leave on this note. Somebody said to me once, how do you know that you will be still making money in 5 years, in 10 years? And my answer to that is always, I don't know, I will be. And it shits people up, because they're like, sorry, what? You're a professional trader, you have a strategy, you teach a strategy, what are you talking about? You don't know whether you'll be making money in 5 years. Nobody wants to hear that. But I like to think like that, because I've seen a lot of shit happen in this game, and I've seen the story, like I said, that happened to that girl. I've had experiences myself. You can't think that you're going to be around forever. You just don't know. You've got to let the chips fall where they may. You've got to manage your risk as best as you can, and just stop fucking worrying about it. It's like I could drop dead in 10 minutes of a heart attack. I'm not going to sit here shitting myself about it. You've got to deal with it. So that's the game for you. It is, anything can happen, but you've got to take the trades, you've got to manage your risk as best you can, and you just got to pray that you don't get fucked too badly if you do get fucked. So I'm going to leave it there, guys. Probably a few stories I left out, but not many. That's most of the crazy shit that's happened to me over the years. So I'm going to call it, like I say, I'll call it a day. I'll be back tomorrow.